Welcome back everyone to the Pawnstorm YouTube channel. This is the second part of this two-part series where I paired Stockfish and Leela, two of the strongest chess bots in the world, in some games of chess. And in the last video we went over, I believe, 3 games, and in this video we're going to be doing 3 as well. And yeah, just giving you some behind the scenes of, well, not maybe behind the scenes, but like giving you an example of just why these bots are so good, and just giving you some close-ups as to just how good they are, I guess. So without further ado, let's get right into this first game. Alright, so as you see up there, we have episode 2, and I did promise in the last episode to add their logos, their profile picture. See, there you go, LCO, and the Stockfish symbol. Alright, so this first game, we have Leela playing with white, and Stockfish is playing with black. The game is, here we go. And before we begin, I just want to say I hope you guys enjoy this type of content, this type of videos where I break down some of these games, and yeah, I just really enjoy it, breaking it down for all you guys to watch. And also I'm going through it myself too, so I get to watch as well, and that's really fun for me. And if you guys have any other ideas, I know I'm doing this quick before we start, but if you guys have any other ideas for videos that you want to see, I have like a poll on my YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, where I have like a couple different ideas for videos coming up, and you guys can vote on that if you want. And also, if you want to leave a suggestion in the comments of the video, yeah, you feel free to do that, and I would love to look over some of those suggestions you guys have, and fulfill some of those ideas for videos, because I think that'd be fun to kind of brainstorm together on new ideas, fun ideas for new videos, and what else. Anyway, going back to the game, we have Leela playing with white, and Stockfish is playing with black. And Leela starts with e4, e5, we have knight f3, knight c6, and bishop e5. This is the Lopez, or the Spanish opening. And as you notice, I did add the eval bar there on the left side. Sorry, it's a little bit discolored, I don't know why, but the darker part, if you can't already tell, the darker part is black and the lighter part is white, and it gives like the analysis and whatever. So right now it's plus 0.2. And knight f6, this is the Berlin defense. Very popular, especially at the higher level, to play this. It's yeah, all of this has been played many hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times, I'm not sure, but especially at the highest level, this is very common for black to play in this approach. I think the last time I remember this, I mean, this has been played so much, as I said, but the last time I remember this being played was actually a long time ago, but it was back in 2023, in the Global Chess Championship between Wesley So and Hikaru in the semifinals, I believe. And Wesley played this Berlin defense with black. That's the last time I remember it. I mean, like I said, it's been played a lot of times. So anyway, knight f6, and we have castles, and knight takes on e4, and rook e1, and knight d6. Black generally sets up in this approach with kind of it looks a little bit weird with the knights over there, but gonna get the bishop out, and sometimes black will let white take the pawn, which I believe, yes, we do see that being seen. So white takes, and then we have bishop e7, and then bishop back to f1. So kind of interesting play here, but alright, so bishop f1, knight takes on e5, and rook takes, and we have castles. d4, knight f6, or sorry, bishop f6, and rook e1, going back to the home square, I guess, technically, because the rook did come from there. And rook e8, offering a rook trade, and instead of taking, Leela goes c3. We have rook takes on e1 and queen takes, and now we have knight to e8, bishop f4, d5, knight d2, and bishop f5. So Stockfish kind of taking more of like a maybe kind of a more positional approach where not really fighting as much for the center, whereas Leela is bringing all the pieces to the party, bringing all the bishops out, has the light square, dark square bishop, going to bring the knight out at some point, maybe the rook on the e file and things like that. But yeah, Stockfish taking more of a kind of like a hyper modern, I guess, approach, where hyper modern is where you kind of control the center to distance. It's kind of looking, that's kind of what it kind of looks like. But anyway, we'll see. We have queen e3 and knight d6, so bringing, like I said, bringing all the pieces to the party. Queen g3, and we have bishop e7. Rook e1, queen d7, and we have queen f3. And knight goes to e4, so also so the knight is doing two things. One, it is getting into the center, causing some mayhem possibly in the future. But if you notice, I think if white were to trade, okay, yeah, this would be fine for white. I was thinking, or for black, I was thinking that, you know, white could like win a pawn here, but no, they would have to sacrifice. Anyway, we don't see that. So, I mean, we see that, but okay. So I said number one, the knight is getting in there and kind of, you know, getting in there and whatever. And number two, it is also blocking this pawn from being taken right here, this pawn, because if the knight wouldn't have moved, and say after white moved there, black moved, I don't know, king f8, you could just take that pawn. And okay. Anyway, after queen f3, we have knight e4, and knight takes, and bishop takes, and now we have queen g3. So maybe creating a pawn storm, you know, because it's the name of the channel, I gotta shout it out. A pawn storm in the at some point, maybe on this side, kind of going after that king with the bishop. Yeah, the queen and the dark squared bishop over here have nice vision. And maybe you could even play, I don't know, bishop h6 at some point, and white would be doing very well. But as you see, the eval is saying it's equal. So c6, h4. So there you go, starting that pawn storm. h5, preventing the pawn from moving again. And we have bishop e2 attacking the pawn, and we have bishop back to g6 defending the pawn. Bishop d1, so still attacking and also opening up the rook again. Now we have king h7. My thing about king h7 is I'm thinking that Stockfish just might have been a little bit wary of maybe the possible pin. I'm not sure with the bishop on g6. I'm not positive. As you see, it's still zeros. So I'm not sure about that totally, but nevertheless we will see what's going on here. So king h7 and bishop e5, rook g8, and rook e3, bishop d8. Yeah, queen f4, f6. Bishop flies all the way over to b8 with a little, I don't know, maybe a business class flight. I don't know, maybe even first class, but I'm not sure. Rook e8. We have a trade of rooks, and now we have queen d2 and a6. So, I guess just making, yeah, so a6 is designed to prevent the bishop from taking, because if let me see, wait a minute, so if I go back, they take, the queen went back, the queen didn't necessarily have to go back, hang on, okay, so black couldn't have played bishop c7, okay, so take, yeah, couldn't have played that, so after the queen went, but why did the queen even go, I wonder? Hmm. I don't even know why the queen went back to d2. That doesn't make sense because you could have just taken. I think. No, you couldn't have because then they could go there. Yeah, and then I don't know. White goes there, and well, actually, if white doesn't go there, let me see. So queen d2, we have boom, and boom, and let's say instead of taking our bishop e8, let's just say I don't know. They play something like I don't know, bishop there. Uh, you can go here maybe, and then here, and here. I think you're just winning the bishop, aren't you? I think so. I don't know. Anyway, after queen d2, we have a6, so preventing that dark square bishop from taking. And now we have queen e2, so going to try and attack those light squared pawns. We have queen f8, queen e6, queen e7, offering a trade, take, and now this looks like it's just going to be a draw because they have opposite colored bishops and they have equal pawns, and all the pawns are on the exact same squares. So as you can see, we have F, G, and H pawns, and we have A, B, C, and D pawns. And I mean, yeah, it's quickly heading for a draw here. So bishop c7, king h6. As you see, white is just trying to make some progress here, but yeah, it's just heading for a draw. And king h5 and bishop f3, f5, g4. Let me see. So if you would have taken, take, boom. I don't know, here. Yeah, yeah. So f5, g4, d3, bishop e6, king g3, and g4, and the bots agreed to a draw. So that was game number one. From the beginning, it looked very, it would look pretty equal from the beginning. At one point, where was that? There was one, yeah, it stayed very equal during the whole game, I feel like, though, at one point there was a spot where, okay, yeah, this is probably the biggest, but, like, yeah, it's only, like, plus 0.1 here. I mean, it's very equal. Very equal. And this is what happens with these bots. They're so good that they just make draws unless the other bot is just like really bad. I don't know. Or they're giving a severe advantage or disadvantage to each other. I'm not sure. Alright, so that was game one. Let's hop into game number two. Alright, game two, we have Stockfish playing with white and Leela is playing with black. We have d4, knight f6, c4, and c6, knight c3, d5, knight f3, e6. This is the classical Queen's Gambit decline. This is black is taking this approach called the semi-Slav. It's very, I think there's like a lot of theory in the semi-Slav, but this is very classical at the higher level, I feel like. And the way, I mean, when I see someone playing the semi-Slav, it reminds me so much of like a London, but with black. So I mean, in this case, let me just show you. So I don't know, something like this, and I'm just gonna play random moves here. But I mean, this approach looks so much like a London to me. I mean, like this pyramid thing, and then black castles. It just reminds me so much of a London, but it's with black because it has that pyramid, that iconic pyramid from the London. Bishop g5, and we have h6, bishop takes, queen takes, because you don't want to take with the pawn, because then you would just be ruining your pawn structure, and that actually gives an advantage to white, a slight advantage, but an advantage. Queen f6, e3. This is all been played. This thing with white has been played many times, where white plays d4, c4, e3, and then often takes the bishop with the takes the c4 pawn. If black takes, they take it with the bishop, and then they castle, and it's all been played. Knight d7, and bishop e2, bishop d6, castles, queen e7, and notice black is not castling because they want to take advantage of the center right now, and I would say it's kind of hard right now, but I would say that maybe white has a little bit like a Maybe black has a little bit more advantage in the center. Right now, it says it's plus point 0.2, so not a crazy advantage. But yeah, it looks like black might have a little bit more. This light squared bishop here is just garbage. But um, it looks like, I mean, white has pretty good advantage. The light squared bishop is out on its good square. It's not really blocked. The c pawn can always trade itself with a d pawn, and then it would be have the light squared bishop would have some nice vision. And then, I mean, you could put the rooks on the c and d file or the d and e file, and then you would have some nice. I think white may be a little bit ahead with development. I'm not sure. We have castles now and a3, so preventing the pawn or preventing the bishop from going to b4 for any reason. D takes on c4, bishop takes, and b6, and black taking a very solid approach here. Leela's taking a very good and very normal, solid approach. This is typically how you play the semi-Slav. Kind of in the last game too. It was kind of, but it seemed like with Stockfish, it kind of played more of like a hyper modern. I feel like maybe not totally, but like kind of controlling the center from a distance, which is typically what you do in a hyper modern opening. But here, I mean, this is totally. This I would call this hyper modern, I guess. Where I mean, you have the bishop sniping here on the light and dark squares, and then I can hop in there at some point. You can also play c5 possibly. Just looks very nice and solid, especially very solid for black. Rook 81 and knight f8. And actually, that was given kind of an advantage to white. So now it says it's plus 0.5, knight f8, bishop d3, and rook ac8, and keep going. Leela kind of provoking white a little bit with the a5 and bishop a6, king g2, and bishop c4, kicking out the bishop. The bishop goes to d5. We have a trade, takes with the e pawn to open up the queen, and also it puts the rook behind it. And if you would have taken, also it's just bad to take with the c pawn because this leaves you with this pawn island here. Even though this is typically pretty strong, this is just so much better for black because I mean you have 4 connected pawns, no pass pawns yet, but yeah, very very strong. I mean you have a nice 4 pawn chain right there. So e takes d5, a4, kind of trying to control that group of pawns there, doing a good job. We have knight e6, bishop, knight h4, c5, and all right, c5, knight f6, knight f5, and queen back to f8, knight b5. So hopping in there has some the knight there now has some nice vision, and now Stockfish, the engine, is giving Stockfish this engine +1 advantage. So the Stockfish in this computer is giving the Stockfish playing the game a +1 advantage. So it's kind of funny that this engine is evaluating itself play. It's kind of interesting. All right, so g6 kicking out. We have knight h4, and we have queen e7, knight back to f3, and h5. Kind of, like I said, kind of a little bit provoking white a little bit, I guess, but just taking more space. And the black king is kind of not very safe here, especially like on the dark squares. Maybe the queen can get in at some point, but maybe we'll see that at some point. I'm not sure. I'm not foreshadowing because I haven't even seen this. I haven't even gone through this game, so I'm just seeing it for the first time too. h5, rook d3, rook e8, and d takes c5, rook takes, and we have knight back to knight bd4. We have queen d7, and now Stockfish is given a +1.5 lead. And what's cool about this is it actually says like the best moves according to the engine. So right now the best move for white is rook de3. And guess what? That is exactly what Stockfish plays because these bots like basically only play the best move. And now for black, it's saying the best move is h4. And guess what? You see h4. And okay, so now I'm gonna do just a few more. It's saying queen d3 followed by h3 check. So queen d3 and h3 check. King f1, king g7, knight takes e6, check. Queen takes, and now we have knight d4 attacking the queen. Queen back to c8, and after queen d2, we have queen a6 check. And at this point, I think it's already okay. So it says it's +2 right now for white. Queen a6 check, king g1, queen c8. We have e6, f6, f4, b5. So yeah, Stockfish is making improvements, trading off pawns. Bishop a7, g4, marking the pawns up there. Queen b8, king h1, rook takes on b5, rook takes on h3, bishop takes on d4, f5, and g5, trying to lock down the position, but it's already too little too late, and Stockfish just trades off the pieces and simplifies down, takes the rook, and yep, this game doesn't last too much longer. Makes a queen, so yeah, Stockfish makes a queen. We have takes, and queen e6 check, king h7, rook d7 check, king g7, queen f5 check, king h8, rook d8 check, queen g8, queen f6 check, king h7, and there we go, won the queen, and there we go. So Stockfish checkmates on the 66th move of the game. So yeah, I guess very well played by both of them. Stockfish and Leela both playing well. Of course, Stockfish having a nice advantage from the beginning, though. Here on move 30 was already plus 1.5, so but still, yeah, still played well, and so just going through the game quickly. At the beginning, nice simplification, and good technique there at the end. All right, so got one more game to show you guys, and then we will get out of here. So, alright guys, so in the last game, we have Stockfish playing with the white pieces, and Leela is playing with the black pieces. So, Stockfish starts with e4, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, a6. This is, I believe this is the, I forget. There's like I forget the name for it, but the variation of the Ruy Lopez. Anyway, bishop a4 and knight f6, and castles, and knight takes on d4. We have d4, b5. So, just kicking out the bishop there. We have bishop e3, d5, d takes e5, bishop e6, c3, bishop c5, knight bd2, and Leela taking kind of like a more laid, or not, like, I was gonna say laid back, but no, more of like a kind of like in the game we saw before, kind of more positional game, I would say. Hasn't I'm sorry, I have something in my eye. Hasn't castled yet, but is kind of playing more positionally in the center of the board. Stockfish goes c2, and now we have knight c5 and knight b3. And actually, Stockfish has quite a favorable advantage right from the beginning. Now it has it's kind of going up and down, but now it says it's about +1 advantage. Now we have a takes on b3, and Leela plays queen e7. We have rook e1, d4, bishop e4, and the advantage is kind of rising for Stockfish here. Now it's still +1, but you can see the eval kind of going up and down and whatever. Rook d e8, and rook takes on a6, and king b7, rook a1, h6, kicking out the bishop. Bishop goes back, g5, bishop d2, 8 d3, and now we have bishop e3, protecting the pawn from going to the d2 square with the bishop and the knight on f3. And now we have f5, and Stockfish counterattacks the queen on d7. So it would lose its queen from the pawn, but instead it pushes that pawn and counterattacks. Now we have f takes and e takes and rook to a8. Knight back to d2, and white will pick up those pawns. Instead we have, Leela plays bishop takes on e3 and f takes instead of rook takes, which, I'm not quite sure why Stockfish plays f takes instead of rook takes, but they're a lot higher rated than we are, so I guess they understand it more than we do. And now we have knight e5 and knight takes on e4. So I'm just scrolling through the moves. This game lasted almost 100 moves. It was 97 moves long, and we are right at almost move 30. Knight takes on e4, king b6, knight f6, c5, and if we keep going here, we have this. So that's interesting. Okay, I just thought that Leela moved its rook down there and then sacrificed it. I was like, what? Okay. Anyway, they just traded, and now we have c4, and b takes, and now we have knight d5, and the king goes over, and rook gets in there, and that pawn is getting very close to promoting. Alright, I have this handy little button on my microphone that allows me to mute it, which is really nice. Also, you can see that the light turns off and on. So I can't talk while it's off, but the light turns on while it's on, and then it turns off when it's off, which is nice to know when it's off and on. Alright, anyway, we have king c6, rook c7 check, king b5, 93. Rook d8, so protecting that square, and right now it's about roughly plus 0.7 for white. Rook c8. This is a common thing to do when you are close to promoting. When you have that pawn a square away and the rook is in front of it, you often play this move so black can either trade and then in this case, white will get a queen, or in many cases, you will see the rook often sacrifice itself, or just take the pawn, and white will go on from there. So in this case, we do see black take, and now we have knight e8, and knight c6, king f2, rook f7 check, and goes back to the first rank, or the first rank. And Leela gets in there, and Stockfish starts pushing that e pawn again. So e5. We have a trade on the edge. Also, okay. Just kind of shuffling around. We are at move 53 now. Still got about 40 moves left. It almost looks like it could be a draw, maybe, except that that white has a very powerful pawn in the center. But other than that, if this pawn gets traded, then it looks like it could be heading towards a draw. Maybe it's right now it's hovering around plus 0.9 for white. So we have rook g8 and e6 and king takes, and then we have king e3, rook e2, king takes on d3, and now we have rook h2. Notice Leela let Stockfish take that pawn here on d3, because it knew that it would be able to win this pawn on h5 because the rook can no longer go to f5 because Leela had the foresight to see this kind of exchange here, thing where it could sacrifice the pawn, and then it could move the king to e6, so it protected the square for the rook, so it wouldn't protect just, you know, insanely otherworldly chess we see here from these bots. I mean, just kind of crazy stuff. All right, rook e4 check, king f6, and Stockfish doing all things in its power to hold on to the pawn if it can, because these pawns over here on the B and C file aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Rook e1, king, knight c5 check, king goes up to d4, knight b3 check, so kind of just, okay, now Leela takes, and we have knight e5. And keep going here, and Leela's getting very close to queening. Now we have king d6 and rook e6 check. King goes down to c5, and now it's, as you can see up here, right here the position gets ballooned for white. Right here it just ballooned. No, where was that? It was, trying to find that. Okay, right here it was almost plus 1.5, but Leela keeps pushing and kind of pushing and poking, and now it's heading towards equality. Now it's only like plus 0.4. Stockfish pushes and protects that pawn, but the king is coming over, and it gets pushed back a little bit. That rook is still defending the pawn from being taken, and Stockfish, or Leela, gets the pawn in, and it's equal now. It's completely equal now because the king is disallowing the pawns from moving, and yeah, so king c6 and kind of going around, but there's an error made. Yeah, Stockfish plays king b5, which is very much a losing move. Now it is -5, so it went from zeros to -5 in one move. From the 81st move to the 82nd move, went from zeros to -5, which, wow, that's crazy. All right, and the reason is now you'll have to sacrifice the rook for the pawn because there's no way to stop it. Yeah, well, black can just go back here, and yeah, there's no way to do anything. So queen, sacrifice, king c6, but Leela knows how to do this. This is just a completely winning endgame for Leela, and gets the job done, and like that. Right here it was mate in 5, so yeah, Stockfish just resigns because it's -10 and has no pieces except the king. So yeah, very, very well played. Leela, excellent job of converting that endgame. It was a very long game. As I said, it was 97 moves here at the end at king a3. But if we go through just a little bit, right here, I mean, Stockfish had a very dominant position. Well, not maybe just positional, but all around, just a nice position here. I was up almost 1.5 at this point, move 50, and even from the beginning, I think got a pretty nice position. Not really something we see nowadays, like, you know, for humans, like these bots have this intuition of moves that we just don't understand sometimes, but they completely understand, and you know, they play these moves sometimes that we're like, what does that move do? Like, what is that? But, you know, it just makes sense. It's just, you know, it's just crazy somehow it's just crazy to watch. And, yeah, just, yeah, crazy chess played by these bots. All right, with that being said, I'm going to go back to full screen. Um, so I hope you guys enjoyed the second part of this two-part series where I took some of these games from Stockfish and Leela. And yeah, I hope this was entertaining for you guys. I hope you, I hope you guys learned something from these games. I mean, super high-level chess being played by both these bots. I mean, just again proves why they're the best in the world right now. And yeah, I was really excited to share these videos with you guys, these games with you. So I hope you pick something up. Make sure to stay tuned for videos coming in the future. Click here to subscribe. Click here because YouTube thinks you will like this video. They recommend this for my channel. And with that being said, I'll stop yapping and see you all on the next video.